Hi guys. In this video, we will cover the full workflow process at the admin and field worker level using Service Fusion. The three things that we do well are help you increase revenue, reduce costs, and increase customer satisfaction. In this short video, I'll do my very best to show you how we can help you on all three fronts. So let's go ahead and get started. Our software is broken up into three core components. So the first is the admin system, which is what you're looking at right now. Now the admin system is cloud-based, so you can have as many people or users logged on simultaneously. Hopefully that'll make you even more efficient. Now from within this platform, you can very easily create an estimate, convert that to a job whenever you're ready. You will have access to a drag and drop dispatch screen, which is very simple to navigate, access to both a company and a personal calendar. In the accounting section, Service Fusion allows you to invoice your customers directly out of this software, but it also integrates with both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, so you have several different options. Finally, we have a reports section with the ability to create custom reports and even export that data out of the system into an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the second piece is the field worker interface. So this is what your service technicians would use out in the field, either from their smartphone or from their tablet. From this interface, they'll be able to receive the jobs that are assigned to them behind a calendar view under My Work. If you allow them to, they can actually create their own work orders out in the field, view inventory and stock levels, along with basic locking in and break functions as well. Now, what your service technicians don't know is that this has a GPS element to it. So from your dispatch screen in the office, you can physically see where your service technicians are at any given time. So this way you know who's goofing off out in the field versus who's actually doing their job. Now the last is really just an extension of your marketing efforts. So if you have a website, we can build a portal within the website. So this way a new customer can go in and create their own profile. An existing customer can essentially sign in. Now once a client signs in, they're able to request for service on their own. All requests are subject to your approval. We don't want these guys to think it's an automatic process. But they can also provide photos for visual aids that will help you provide them with a little bit more precise estimate. Now this is more than just a booking tool. So when the client logs in, they can go in and view their service history, monitor the status of your service technicians. Is the guy on site? Is the job completed? Is it invoiced? Physically look at the work order. They can also update their billing information as well. So if they add a phone number or update an email address, it automatically updates that information in your Service Fusion system. So you'll always have the most up-to-date information at all times. Now finally, we also create what's called a customer-facing mobile app. So this way you can tell your customer, go to your Android or iTunes marketplace, type in the name of my company and look for my logo, download the app, and then going forward, just use this when you need us. But from this platform, they can create their own estimates, view their service history, even requesting emergency services, all directly from their cell phone or mobile device. Okay, so let's get into the workflow process. So imagine a customer calls in, they need for me to come out and provide some sort of service. So I'll do a job first, and then I will come back and perform an estimate, so that way you can see what a quote looks like as well. So we'll go to the Jobs tab, click New, and it will take us to our work order screen. Now you guys know this better than I do. A lot of clients, they start directly from dispatch, because as a call comes in, they need to know what service technicians are free to work it. So imagine a customer says, Sean, look, I have an emergency. I need someone out to my property. The only time that I will be available is at 1 p.m. Well, looking at this grid, I can see that Angelo, John, and Max are all working the job. Alan is free. So now based off availability, I can right click in the 1 o'clock time frame, tell the system what we're performing, and then select it. Now the system will then send me back to the job screen and then insert Alan on that date and time as the person working this job. So you can start directly from the dispatch screen or from the job screen. It's really a matter of preference. Now, Service Fusion integrates with QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, and I want to just kind of talk about that in a little bit more detail. So Service Fusion speaks to QuickBooks. QuickBooks does not speak to Service Fusion. So all new customers, payments, and invoices that are done in Service Fusion will automatically map over into QuickBooks as transactions occur, or you can set it to manual. The only thing that QuickBooks pushes in the Service Fusion are new customers and updates, and then also products and services when they sync. So in this situation, we have two different scenarios. If it's a first-time customer, one that you've never dealt with before, any information that they provide you as you're taking the call, customer's name, email address, physical address, the moment I save this job, the system will automatically create them as a customer in Service Fusion, and if you're using QuickBooks, it'll also create them as a customer in QuickBooks as well. So we want to help you get away from a lot of the double and sometimes triple entry. Now, if it's a repeat customer, you have a universal search at the very top. So in this section, I'm able to search this system by phone number, by email address, company name, contact name, any criteria that that customer gives you to actually pull up their file. Now, the moment I pull up their file, at the very top underneath customer, you will see service agreements. So if you guys have service agreements or warranties, you can name what they are, define what they cover, and also plug in a lifespan. So the moment you pull up the customer's record, you'll instantly know whether they're in or out of warranty. Now, in this case, some property partners, they may have more than one contact person and more than one service location. So we have corresponding buttons to the left here. So when I click select contact, the system will then show me the contacts that we already know for this client, and I would just choose the person that I'm actually speaking with. Or I can very easily add a new contact at any given time. Very simple to do, and it just takes a few seconds. Service locations work the exact same way. Now, if you have a residential customer, some of these guys live in gated communities or password protected areas, so you can place a flag in the box here and then type in the gate code so your service guy has access to it without making an additional call to the customer. Now, if you work with a lot of commercial properties, you can also name each location, so that way when you go into the system and run reports, you'll be able to separate the financials per site. Now, in the job description field is where we can let the service technician know what they're doing on this specific job. Now, if this area does not contain enough room, you can expand the window and you have up to 4,000 characters to make sure we capture an accurate description. Now, if you're provided with a purchase order number from a vendor, then you can also associate that with the work order as well. Now, really quick, just to make sure that you guys understand where we're headed, when we create a job in this system, it's very simple. We have the consumer's information on the left side, scheduling and any notes specifically for the service technician on the right, and at the very bottom, what parts are needed for this type of job? And what type of job is this? Is it an install, service call, repair? We will get to this section in just a moment. So we're just following the folder tabs across the very top. We just covered the summary folder. Right next to that are your own personal custom fields. Now, we work with clients right now in 40 different industries. For some of those customers, we don't have fields in our software to capture data that they would like for the service technicians to record while they're on site at the job. So without calling us, you're able to log into Service Fusion, and you can actually rename our fields to say whatever you want them to say. For you guys, this could be make, model, manufacturer, date of install. Now, what's really nice about the software is in the cloud. So you guys can go in and add as many additional fields as you want. We just want to make sure that the guys are able to capture whatever data that is needed. And then you can also make these fields visible on the work order if you'd like for the customer to see what the results are, and then also run reports based off the data collected in these fields as well. Now, the rest of this, guys, is really self-explanatory, but at the admin level, you can attach photos that the service tech can view. You're also able to attach documents like an installation manual or some sort of contract. And then for the client, in this case, some property partners, to the far right, there's an equipment folder. So now we have a running list of all pieces of equipment that this customer has on premise. You can leave notes so the guy knows where to find it. And each service technician, and this is really important, is able to leave detailed notes for every visit. So that way the next person coming out behind them will know what's been done historically to each piece of equipment. You can also add equipment, and that does include extended warranty information on the equipment as well. Now, the scheduling aspect is next. Now, it's not uncommon in the service industry for you to have a job that's not scheduled or assigned to anyone. So at this point in our software, you can actually save the job. If you save a job in this system without it being scheduled or assigned to someone, then that job will then move over into your dispatch screen. And in the lower left corner, you have an unscheduled folder. So all jobs that we have created, but we don't know what day we're going to service it or what service tech, those jobs are right here in a centralized location. So that way, once you determine who's going to work the job or what day you're going to service the client, then we just come back to dispatch, click on the folder, and at that point, it's just drag and drop dispatch on whatever service tech, on whatever date or time that I want them to perform the job. Now, I'm showing you this because I know some pieces of software, they will not allow you to save the work order unless it's scheduled or assigned to someone in particular. So that's not the case with us. Now, if you do know the information, if it happens to be a multi-day job, just place a flag in the box, plug in the start and end date of the work order. You can also plug in an arrival time. And a lot of our customers have jobs that repeat, to where you have the same customer, but you do the same job multiple times per year. So as you're creating the work order, you can click repeat this job, and then the system wants to know the parameters. Do I have the same customer that we go out and service twice a year? Do I have the same commercial customer that we service every quarter, and so on. So once we set these parameters, I can then have it stop on a date in the future or after a certain amount of occurrences, and then click save. So this way you don't have to keep creating the same job. The system does that for you. Now you can also send reminders to the service technician assigned to this and the customer to make sure that they don't forget about it as well. Now, in a lot of scenarios, based off the service technician's experience level or how complex the job is, you already know who you want to go out and service the client. So if this is one of those scenarios, there's no need to go into the dispatch screen at all. While you're receiving the information from the customer, to the right there's a section that says Assign Technicians. So when I click into it, it unlocks all of your service guys. So this way, as I'm receiving the information, I can allocate one technician to the job or even a series of techs all while I'm creating the work order. So this way, once I save the job, they're all instantly alerted with all the job details, and there's no need to go into the dispatch screen at all. Now, if there are any notes that you would like for the service technician to know, call Bill Wheaton at gate, big dog in the front yard, be careful, anything that you want to tell the service technician, you can plug that in here, and I will show you what the service guy will see in just a moment. And then finally, once the job is completed, the service guys out in the field have a section for completion notes. So if you want them to summarize what they did while they were there or leave recommendations for the customer, this is the section where that information will populate at. And for scenarios like parts on order, etc., you can also flag the job for a follow-up. And when you do this, it'll then move that job back over into your dispatch screen. And in the lower left corner, you have a mark for follow-up folder. So this way you know exactly where to find those customers when the time comes. Now, the middle section of the work order is really just a miscellaneous area, but we recently added in a task list. So sometimes on certain jobs, you may want the guys to go out and do certain things in a certain order. So you can plug in any given number of tasks that the service guys will see. So this way, once they complete each task, it'll line it out in the system. So that way you can confirm those tasks have been completed before they leave. You also have an instant message set up between you and the service guys working this job as well that is private and hidden from the customer. So if me and my guys are 30 minutes late because we're goofing off out in the field instead of working, then through the system at the admin level, you can reach out and say, what's the status? What's taking so long? That message will pop up on everyone assigned to this job's mobile device. And as they respond, the responses will come in right beneath this area. So it's very simple for you to communicate back and forth with the guys out in the field and know what's going on at all times. And at this point, we are ready to save our work order, guys. Now, once we save a job in this system, the system will then assign it a job number. You can actually click on it and change this number to be whatever you want. You can also plug that job number into the global search to make finding this work order a lot easier. But at the admin level, you can take a deposit or create an invoice with one click of a button. You can email this job to the service technician if you'd like. Now, if you work with contractors, you can hide the pricing and the quantity amounts if you don't want them to see that information. Attach any relevant photos or any relevant documents that you want to share with the guy, and then just click send. Now you can also print out the work order the traditional way with or without the pricing and just hand it to your service technician. And then finally, another feature that a lot of our customers like is from an inventory standpoint, you can also create a purchase order against this job and then email it to your vendor directly out of the system. Once you receive that information, you can then receive it and reallocate it as well. Okay, so you just saw what it looks like to create a job in this system. I just really quickly want to show you how you would then do the same thing for a quote. So we would go to the estimating tab here, and then we would click new. And the estimating screen looks very similar to the job screen, except you have a section to the right to label what the estimate is. So I have a finished estimate that I've already plugged in that I'm about to drag over so that way you can see what a finished estimate looks like. So once we've plugged in the customer information, this is what a finished estimate would look like with the ability to also attach a service contract as well, along with any kind of disclaimer and terms that you have. Now, from this system, the biggest difference between it and a job is at the very top, there is no option to invoice. There's an option to convert it to a job. So let's say the service tech went out, performed an estimate last week, customer called in, said, let's move forward. You would click convert to job and then click convert to job again. I'm going to schedule it for whatever day or multi-day term, assign my service technicians, and then convert it. Now, the neat thing about this software is once it's converted to a job, the system always links the job back to the original estimate at all times. Alrighty, so let's go back to the job that we just created. So we created a job in this system and we assigned it to Max. So I'm going to log in as Max and I'm going to show you what the service technician sees when they receive this job. So the job that we just created ends in 766, so I'm going to click on My Work. And this is the service technician's perspective. Now it defaults to today's date. So this is the service technician's workload job for job. And the service tech would just work them accordingly. Now again, the job that we just created ends in 766, so we're going to click on it. And this is your service technician's view. So he has the arrival time, the duration of the job itself. If we scroll down, they have a mapping button so you can get turn-by-turn directions to the job site. Upload as many photos as they want. Again, a lot of our customers like to attach before and after photos so the client can see what work was performed. And then to the far right, you have multiple signatures that you can capture and then associate those signatures with the work order as well. Now we have 2 layers of history in Service Fusion. So behind the info button is where your service guy can see what you can see in the office. Who's my customer? Are they under warranty? What's their callback information? And at the very bottom, every single job or estimate that we have ever done for this customer. So a lot of our service guys, they really love this because now you know what's been done historically, and hopefully it'll save them time from a diagnostic standpoint. Now, as we scroll down, we'll be able to see everything else connected to the work order. The customer had the gate code. The service tech can see that here. Full 4,000 character description to the work order itself. If you've created custom fields in the office, the service tech will see those here. So when we click into it, they can see whatever questions you've prepared, and they can very simply plug in whatever answers that physically apply on this job without doing a lot of typing in the interface slowing them down. Once they're done, they simply click save, and everything they did in this interface automatically attaches itself to the job. So the neat thing about this software is no longer do you have to wait for the service guys to come in at the end of the day with bundles of paperwork. What they do out in the field, you will instantly see it in the office. Now, closer to the bottom, you see the section where they can type in completion notes summarizing what they did. And then also the task list that we've created in the office is right here. So one by one, as they complete each task, they'll move on to the next, and then obviously on to the next. Now there's a star under the notes tab. So my message, call Bill Wheaton at gate. And then the other message that I sent through the system, what's the status? So the service tech would then click add note and then plug in a comment, hey Sean, look, I'm running late, man, get off my back. Whatever his response is, he can type that in here and then click save, and then it pops up in the system. Very simple for them to communicate back and forth with the office and know what's going on at all times. So again, guys, we're basically following the folder tabs across the very top here. So the service tech can see the exact same. The documents, we talked about the installation manuals. They can also upload their own files. They can see each piece of equipment and each piece of equipment's historical information. They can also create equipment out in the field as well. And again, the invoicing tab is optional. So if we click on it, this will launch your product and service catalog. So out in the field, the service technicians can add charges, or if you're a one-man show or a 1 or 2-man show, you can create your own work orders out in the field and add charges all directly from the interface. So when we click add service, this launches your service catalog out of Service Fusion. Now, to make it easier for these guys out in the field, they have a search menu, so they can just search for repair, install, whatever the scenario is, they can search for it. Or we can help you guys by creating categories. So let's say the guy is out and he's doing an install. He's going to click on that category, and then it will show them your pricing points, either with the pricing or without the pricing. It's completely up to you. Once he clicks on the actual job that he's performing, it then adds it to the work order. They can also add a detailed description. Now you can leave the rates locked in, or you can leave them open. So out in the field, the guys can give discounts based off the time spent on the job or based off the quantity of items that are purchased. Choose whether it's taxable or non-taxable. The system auto-calculates the price. You simply click add this service. So everything they do out in the field literally takes 2 clicks of a button and they're done. Now the neat thing about this is that it gives them a preview of the work order. So this way, if they added something by mistake, they can go back in and fix it before it gets to the invoicing stage. Now, the product catalog works very, very similar, but a lot of our customers like to take it a step further and then add photos to their products, even short YouTube videos. So this way, the service tech on site can say, okay, Mr. Customer, looks like in this case you need a new thermostat. Well, these are the thermostats that we currently offer, and they can use these visual aids to really help them out in the field. We know most of your service guys, they're not natural salespeople. So this way, when they click on Daikin touchscreen, then they can launch additional photos or even a YouTube video that in this case may show a service guy programming a thermostat. Any way that you feel that these would be useful, but these are very, very powerful visual aids out in the field. Now, the biggest difference between products and services is we need to let the system know where we're pulling these parts from. So when we scroll down, there's a section that says warehouse location. So when I click into it, now we're telling the system where we're pulling the parts from. Is it coming from Gary's truck? Is it coming from the main warehouse, from Orlando's truck, etc.? Once I identify the location and click add this product, the system automatically deducts from your inventory in Service Fusion. So you always have a clear count from an inventory standpoint. So now at this point, let's just assume the guy's been on site for a couple of hours. He's done a package system install. He installed a couple of touch screens. This job is done. So we're going to scroll up to the very top. We're going to click the power button. Now I want to just go back to the system really quick to make sure everyone is following me at this point. So in Service Fusion, in the My Office section of the system here, you have estimate and job statuses. So originally you will have a blank system that has no data. So this way you can go in and tell our system what statuses matter to you guys and even allocate a color code to it. So that way when you're looking at those work orders in the dispatch screen, you know the status because you've already created your own color, so you can set this up any way you want. So now when we come back to the system, when we go to the job screen, instead of creating a job, you have a jobs dashboard. And under this dashboard, now you'll see those statuses from a dashboard view, and you have virtual folders on your left-hand side. So now in this scenario, let's say I work with a service technician. Once the job is completed, he can then click the completed button. The job then moves over into that folder. So now I have the option to address that job at the admin level and then invoice it out, or I can give the service technician the option to invoice it out all directly from the platform. But we want you to have as many statuses that are relevant to you guys. Jobs that have parts on order, jobs that need Justin's approval. I'll be able to separate the jobs that happen to be completed versus the jobs that are already invoiced versus the jobs that are already paid in full. So now when we go back to the service technician's app, once the job is completed, they can also invoice out in the field. So once we have the job in the completed status, we simply scroll down to the very bottom, and then the system will allow you to finalize an invoice. Now, it's not sending anything to the customer. It's just relocating that job from the completed folder down to the invoice folder instead. And at this point, if you work with residential customers, Service Fusion can be integrated with your merchant services provider. So out in the field, you can take a payment by cash, credit card, or by check. If you do, that is going to automatically map over into QuickBooks as paid in full as well, and it'll move it over into the paid in full folder. So that way you know exactly where to find that work order. Now, if you work with commercial customers, more than likely you're going to email them an invoice. So if we click email, it pulls up the email address from the work order automatically. Most of our clients create an invoice template that just summarizes what was done on this job, what my terms for payment are, and a link for the customer to pay by credit card when they're ready. Your service technician can attach any relevant photos or documents all out in the field and just click send. Now, a lot of our customers, they deal with the elderly. And with the elderly, they don't do a lot of email. So if your guys carry a wireless printer that plugs into the cigarette lighter, you can just print invoice and just hand them an invoice right then and there with your company letterhead and logo on it. So we want you to have as many options as possible. So now once we come back to the system, no longer do you have to wait for these guys to come in with bundles of paperwork. As I mentioned earlier, you simply edit the job or reload the screen, and everything that service technician did out in the field has now attached itself to the job. So now it's invoiced. It shows me who did it. If I scroll down, my task list is partially completed. The running late message has popped up. And then at the very bottom, the package system install, the Daikin thermostat, it's capturing my costing information, and it separates it in its own window at the very bottom. So the system is doing all the work for you. Now, the only other thing that I wanted to cover is dispatch. So in the dispatch screen, it defaults to the daily view to where it breaks each job down by hour. Your service technicians are on the left-hand side. Now you can very easily hover over and call your service technician directly out of this system, or send them a quick text message. Hey, Sean called in sick today. Can you do a job today from 3 to 4? Now, when they respond, the responses come right back into the system as well. Now, you're also able to double click on the job. And if you double click on the job, it'll then show you geographically where the job site is. And in this view, you have the option to add additional service text to the job if you'd like, or you can dispatch the job in the form of a text message to the people working the work order as well. So we give you several different options. Now, it defaults to the dispatch grid. You also have a dispatch map. And on the dispatch map, it gives you an aerial view. And with me being in Dallas, I'm just going to kind of zoom in a little bit here. Now, again, based off the statuses that I've created, the system knows all jobs that are red are completed. So every job that you've created in this system, in the dispatch screen, it's going to geographically pin where that job site is. Now from this view, you can click on the job and it'll give you all the details of the job, even the current status. Now you can also see your service techs as well, recognized by their first and last initials. So you'll see your service guys all over the place because they're out in the field. Now, if you click on the service tech, you can even see that technician's workload for the day. So this way we can make sure that they are where they say they are and they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, a lot of our clients like our search menu because a lot of times when you're receiving an incoming service call, you may not know who can service this customer. So as the customer provides you with their address and information, then I can simply type it into the system and then tell the system to find it. So now the system will show me geographically where that job site is, and now I know what other service tech is closest to it or what job is closest to it, and I can just reallocate accordingly. So half of our customers use the dispatch grid, others use the dispatch map. It's really a matter of preference. Now the final thing that I wanted to show is the customer's record. So we try to store as much information on the customer's profile as we can. Are they a preferred customer? Do they have service agreements? How many service agreements do they have covering what time frame? You have sections for internal notes that only me and my team can see, and then static notes that'll show up on every single work order. The gate code is 3301. Now, I'm not going to put you to sleep showing you each and every folder, but financial data obviously stores their credit card information, how many service locations or pieces of equipment the customer has, any photos or documents. Everything is stored under that customer's file. But I really wanted you to see the history. So under the history tab is where it shows me all of the jobs that I've ever done for this customer. So over 20 years, I've done 84 jobs for this customer. I've brought in this much revenue. In fact, here are all those jobs one by one. Everything is stored under that customer's profile, so I can click on it and easily access it at any time. You have a list of estimates, invoice history. Everything is stored under that customer's file, along with a running trail of notes for every time that customer's called in. We want you to have one centralized location where you can very easily find everything at any given time. Now, under the logs tab, it tracks all of your interactions with this customer. So all emails that I've sent to that customer, what job was it for? Did the email physically go through? Text messages that the service technician is on their way, etc. Phone calls and voice reminders. Again, we want you to have one centralized location to where you can quickly come abreast with what's been going on with this client. Now, a lot of our customers, they start in this section, and then after they verify that information, then they just go create a new job or an estimate from this screen, and then the system, it automatically populates the information that they want, and then they just rinse and repeat the process. So again, this is just a video covering our workflow process. If you guys like what you see and you're ready to get started, feel free to go to servicefusion.com and click Get Started Now, or feel free to request a free demo and we'll be glad to show you this in detail. Have a good day.